You didn't inherit money, so you inherited the loss. Every advantage you lack compounds while you sleep. By the time you notice how far behind you have fallen, you've already been losing for years. Aristotle saw this 23 centuries ago. He wasn't describing theory. He was mapping power structures that still run under your life right now. Those born into advantage don't just start ahead. They occupy spaces where the rules themselves are written in their favor. You feel this when you work harder than someone who earns more. When you prepare better but lose the opportunity to someone with connections. When you execute perfectly but watch credit flow upward to someone who delegated the task. The system doesn't reward hard work equally because hard work was never the actual currency. Aristotle called wealth a tool for living well. But he knew tools aren't distributed fairly. The wealthy don't just have more resources. They have access to different rules. A speeding ticket costs you a week's anxiety and financial recalculation. For someone wealthy, the same violation is a momentary inconvenience, a number that doesn't register as loss. The punishment exists on paper, but only one of you actually experiences punishment. This extends to every choice you make under pressure. You negotiate salary from a position of need. They negotiate from a position of options. You calculate risk with your survival attached to the outcome. They calculate risk knowing failure won't touch them. The decision-making process is not the same. Your version carries costs that never reach them. Access shapes reality more than talent does. You can be the most qualified person in a room and still lose to someone whose father plays golf with the hiring manager. Skill sounds fair until you see how rarely pure skill determines outcomes. The wealthy don't bypass qualifications. They supplement their qualifications with access, relationships, and institutional trust that you have to build from nothing. The wealthy accumulate advantages you don't even recognize as advantages. Their parents know which neighborhoods have better schools before they are born. They grow up hearing that success is certain, discussing investments at the dinner table, and treating financial literacy as everyday conversation. You're learning these things as an adult, reverse engineering a childhood you didn't have. They've been absorbing this knowledge since they could talk. The gap isn't just money. The gap is years of ambient information you're now trying to acquire deliberately while working full-time. Aristotle noted that free time is necessary for philosophy, for developing virtue, and for participating in civic life. But free time requires freedom from economic stress. The wealthy have time to develop skills, relationships, and knowledge that don't produce immediate income. You focus on survival. They focus on position. That difference in what you can afford to prioritize grows with each generation. Generational wealth isn't just money. The wealthy inherit networks, expectations, manners, and cultural fluency. They inherit the sense that certain spaces are theirs. You can learn the same skills, but you're learning while they are already ahead. By the time you catch up, the rules have changed. The skills that got you here may not matter in the next room. Look at how failure is treated differently. If you start a business and fail, that failure can destroy you financially for years. You carry the burden, and your credit suffers. Your ability to take another risk diminishes. If someone wealthy fails, they have capital to try again. Failure becomes data instead of disaster. They're encouraged to fail fast and often. You're encouraged not to fail at all because you can't afford the cost. This creates a distortion in risk tolerance. The wealthy can pursue long-term strategies that don't pay off immediately. They can invest in relationships that mature over decades. They can wait for the right opportunity instead of taking the available one. You're operating on a different timeline. Your decisions are compressed by urgency. The game rewards patience you cannot afford. Education works the same way. You can get the same degree, but the experience is not identical. Wealthy students don't work during school. They join clubs, study abroad, build portfolios, attend networking events. They're accumulating social and cultural capital while you're splitting focus between coursework and rent. The degree is equal on paper. The experience isn't. Aristotle understood that virtue required material conditions. You can't develop excellence when you're worried about electricity bills. Poverty isn't just a lack of money. Poverty is a narrowing of possibilities. It's choosing between health and rent. It's avoiding opportunities because the risk of failure is too high. Wealth isn't just abundance. Wealth is the freedom to make mistakes, to invest time in unprofitable pursuits, and to build toward a future that doesn't demand immediate returns. The wealthy don't need to be smarter. They need to be present in rooms where decisions happen. Policy gets written by people who socialize together. Hiring happens through referrals. Opportunities circulate in networks you're not part of. By the time a job gets posted publicly, the decision is often already made. The official posting is a formality, a legal requirement. The real selection happened over dinner last month. You've been told to work hard, be competent, and stay ready. All true, none sufficient. The wealthy work hard too, but their hard work gets amplified by systems built to recognize and reward their work. Your hard work disappears into structures that weren't designed with you in mind. You're not lazy. You're working against friction the wealthy don't experience. Look at how inheritance laws protect wealth across generations. Estate taxes exist but get navigated by accountants and trusts. Wealth gets transferred through mechanisms you didn't know existed until you needed them, and by then you're already behind. The wealthy don't just pass down money. They pass down financial literacy, investment strategies, and accountants who know how to minimize tax burdens legally. You're learning this from the internet, while they are learning from family advisors who've managed their wealth for decades. Aristotle noticed that different people had different access to the good life. He didn't call this unfair. He described this as the nature of political reality. Some people are positioned to flourish. Others are positioned to serve. The positioning isn't always about ability. It's often about birth, circumstance, and structural access. Equal opportunity is the story we tell. Positioning is the reality we experience. The wealthy change rules when rules stop serving them. You've seen this. Regulations get written after someone wealthy loses money in a particular way. When everyone loses money the same way, the loss is called a market correction. When the wealthy lose money, the correction comes with bailouts and restructuring. Risk is socialized and profit remains private. You absorb the downturns. They absorb the recoveries. Even your ambition works differently. If you want something badly, that wanting can be used against you. Employers know you need the job more than someone with family wealth behind them. You negotiate from desperation even when you don't show desperation. They can sense the need. Your need is the leverage they hold. The wealthy negotiate from a position of detachment. They can walk away. Walking away is a power you don't have. Notice how expensive things get cheaper per unit. Buying in bulk saves money, but only if you have money to spend up front. Quality items last longer, but only if you can afford the initial cost. Being poor is expensive. You pay more for everything because you can't afford the upfront investment that reduces long-term costs. This isn't stupidity. This is mathematics working against you. Aristotle claimed that humans are political animals. We live in communities. We depend on social structures. But those structures are not neutral. They are shaped by people with power. And power consolidates. The wealthy don't wake up thinking about how to oppress you. They wake up thinking about how to maintain and grow what they have. Your oppression is a byproduct, not the goal. That makes the oppression structural. You can't fight a person. You're fighting a system that operates automatically. Social mobility exists. It's not a lie. It's just rare enough to function as a story. You've heard the exceptions. The person who came from nothing and built everything. Those stories are real. They are also used to justify the system. If one person can make this work, the logic goes, then everyone can. But exceptions prove the rule. The game isn't impossible. The game is rigged. Some people win anyway. Most don't. You weren't born into wealth, so you were born into a structure where your work benefits people above you more than yourself. Your labor creates value. That value flows upward. You get wages. They get equity. You trade time for money. They trade money for more money. The gap isn't your fault, but closing the gap is treated as your responsibility. Aristotle's world had slaves. Ours has workers. The language changed. The structure did not. You're free to work or starve. That's not the same freedom the wealthy experience. They are free to choose between opportunities. You're free to choose between necessities. Every interaction you have with money, work, and power will remind you. The game was rigged before you arrived. Aristotle knew. The people who benefit know. And now you know. That knowledge doesn't come with a solution. That knowledge comes with a choice about what you do when you're playing a game you can't win by the rules you were given.